Hi, my name is Jeff and welcome to my workshop. Today we're going to be working on a Proto 2000 F7A B set. These are undecorated. We're going to be eventually painting them for the Arlington Heights Society of Metal Engineers Double C or Cincinnati, Chicago, St. Paul, and Pacific. And I am actually in a temporary workshop because if you've been following my channel, you know I've had some health issues. I was back in the hospital and now I'm in rehab, so I have the toolbox to go with me, and we're going to be using that and giving it a test as I work on these F7 units. We're going to start with the A unit, and after getting it out of the box, we will start by removing the shell. By the way, if you're not a subscriber already, please make sure you hit the subscribe and turn on notifications. The first step is to remove the supports at the end that are held on with the screws that hold the coupler pockets on. These actually replace the coupler covers, so just unscrew those and put them in, and then once I get those off and the shell off the chassis, I'll put the screws back in there so they don't get lost. So with the shell removed, we can put those screws back in, again, just to keep them safe. And then we can set the chassis aside and we will be starting work on the shell. So first thing I'm going to work on is I've got a couple of bags of parts, detail parts here to add, will be the rear door and the diaphragm. And by the way, if you do want to help support this channel and my family as we go through some pretty tough times with my medical issues and some of my wives, there will be a link to a GoFundMe page in the description below. Please, if you can help, we appreciate it. If all you can do is send your prayers, that's appreciated as well. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is that rear door and the diaphragm for it. And there are two pieces involved in that. The diaphragm is separate from the door, as you can see them sitting there. So the first step is going to be to test fit everything and see how it goes together. So the door fits in like that, and the diaphragm holds onto the pin at the top. I'm just going to put a little glue on there. You could leave it loose so that it flows freely as the engines move, and if you're doing close coupling with the A and the B unit, I would definitely do that. In my case, I'm going to be using standard couplers, so I'm putting a dot of glue on there just to make sure it's safe. Okay, and then insert it into the frame and add glue once I take the cap off of it to hold the door in place on the frame. I apologize, this video is going to be a little bit short. I'm running out of time, and normally I would do a video and a short each week. For the time being, I'm just going to be doing the long format videos until I can get back on my regular schedule. So the next step on here I'm going to do is I'm going to install the frame, the exhaust fans at the top. You need to make sure you put the fan in correctly into the fan cover, and you want the raised portion to be facing into the exhaust fan, and then a dot of glue on the pin to hold it. You could of course pre-paint those fins a silver, but they're going to get covered with blue paint when I paint the roof anyway, so they'll be get coated with paint when I paint the roof, so it doesn't really make much difference Although I could paint the exhaust fans separate, or covers separately, and then install them, but I'm going to do it this way. It saves a little bit of time, and it's a detail most people aren't going to notice on operating engines, particularly on ones that spend a lot of time on the upper deck of the layout. So you're really not looking down on them much. So after the exhaust fans are installed, I'm installing the steps leading to the cab doors, and got the first sight in, and then I started looking at it and realized that may be upside down. You notice that after I glued it in, and it was while I was looking at that, and I realized, yeah, that may not be right. And when I checked the exploding diagram, I did have it upside down. Fortunately, I had just put it on, so I was able to remove it. The glue hadn't completely cured yet, so I was able to get the piece off and put back on with the correct orientation. Point here is make sure you look at those exploding diagrams and make sure you have pieces pointing the correct way. So with that done, I'm going to pause here, and we will pick this up next week. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned.